told me before we started that you've been playing card games since you were 5 years old. That's insane. Like you already have in some ways 10 years experience at the age of 15.
A couple like tech cards that I'm thinking about playing, like maybe Pascal. I'm really happy with the list. Like coming into that to the tournament, I felt I had the best deck in the room.
But I don't see, on average, I don't see kids coming out to playing in 1Ks, going to SCGs, things like that. You're truly unique. I think it's important, truly important for people to see this and see this story of, hey, like this 15-year-old kid won $3,000. Like he played with a bunch of adults in a very competitive tournament and was able to compete.
I think that's really important. For me, I was really bad on Pixelborn. I was bad playing in a comfortable space, but in person I played a lot better. Webcam was different because I was good on webcam because of Digimon.
Yeah, the addition of Be King Undisputed is a card that all of a sudden now Rabbit and Goat got even scarier.
Oh my god, forever. I'm just like, why are we playing this card? It's so bad.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Forbidden Mountain. Today we have a very special guest. We are interviewing the winner of the most recent 10K at CCS, Luca Serano. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm good. I'm pretty tired. Just took a shower, so I'm feeling a little bit better than I
Yeah,
am. Got
that's
pretty
fair.
good
So,
sleep.
are you a coffee drinker?
I'm not at all.
Probably because you're 15, but it's okay. We'll get into that. Um, So first vibes, coming off, we're like 2 days off the win now, I believe. Are we settled into it, or is it still a little bit surreal to you?
It's pretty, yeah. Like winning $3,000 is like that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Normally I just give any tournament winnings to my dad because I'm a kid, so he gives me cards, clothes, food, house, like stuff like that. So and it just recycles. Like I can play tournaments if I want to go to tournaments as long as my grades are good and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's
I'm not acting bad.
insane. To really consider that for a moment of like, yeah, like if because I'm not failing in school, we can go to Tuesday night Lorcana. Before we get into all that, I really want to start. Really for you, it's kind of about you're just getting started in Disney Lorcana. If we're being completely honest here, right? You're 15 years old. You've been playing card games for quite some time, ironically, which we're going to get into. But this past weekend, we were a Ruby Amethyst gamer, and I personally met you in Richmond, I believe, was the
Yeah,
first time that we met, and you were Ruby Amethyst Gamer there. You were Ruby Amethyst Gamer in Atlanta for SCG. Were you also at the first Charlie's collectible? Were you
I
at the,
was. I
the
was. Yeah,
8K or the 5K? I can't remember what it
it
was.
was an 8K. Yeah,
Did you also play Ruby Amethyst
I did.
there?
Yes.
Okay, so my first initial question here is: can you do you want to play anything else, or is it just
I do
die
not. I
hard?
love Ruby Amethyst. Yeah,
Okay,
it's been my favorite deck.
that's fair. So this particular list in this weekend, you went undefeated,
Mhm.
which is impressive. I believe it was 11-0 in the matches, if I remember correctly. You had two draws along the way.
Yeah, I was
Oh no, sorry,
nine.
9-0,
I
9-0.
was 9-0-2,
Yeah,
and I lost 2 games, no matches.
that's pretty crazy. That's good. So talk to me about this list. Why was it this list this weekend? Specifically, I think the number one question that really just shocked people is only 4 one cost characters. Can you kind of break that down for me?
Yeah, so I originally got this list from George GG on y'all's team. We talked a lot about the
Hold on,
list.
hold on. Wait, let's do one for the camera. Do a thumb. Thumb. Yeah, there it is. All right, go ahead.
Um, so we had talked a lot about the list beforehand, and I really liked the play style of the deck list. How I play was always I really liked playing very control heavy, and my game plan for every match was to be prep, double castle, and like secure the game, play the control game.
Right.
And higher amounts of kill spells let me do that, and I think it improved my matchups. It improved red purple mirror match. It improved my blue red matchup, which I don't think I needed to, but making it better was nice. Made my blue steel matchup better. I actually won off of Tremaine in that matchup.
Mhm.
Um, and Steel Song as well. Just like you need kill spells, and like the one drops for me, if you play a 1-2 on the draw against a Flynn deck and they play a Flynn on 2 and you don't have a turn 2 play, you're just going to lose the game, I think, most of the time. Where Chernobog is generally always good. And you get to, like, the. I don't have to play something into Broom to draw the card. I can just recycle. So if my hand is all good cards and I need a quest to find, like, a less good card to ink, that came up a lot. Um,
I think the
and
choice, right? The choice is really
yeah.
important. And it to kind of explain it how it was explained to me in Chicago, it was more about like blind in a matchup, going into your matchup, you're almost afraid to play like any other one cost character in the
Yeah.
game because of like the relevancy they have over the course of the first 3 or 4 turns. Where Chernobog, you can always cash in. And the two power, obviously the two strength is like incredibly important for all the reasons you just mentioned. But that idea, that concept of like, oh, on the play, my opponent inked a Sapphire resource. I don't have a Flynn Rider in my opening hand. Maybe I'm just questing and getting rid of my Chernobog because I want to hit my 2 cost. Like I want to hit my Flynn Rider here. Maybe on 3, I just like really want to hit my Sisu. I want to hit my Brawl, if I need it. I think it really does represent a lot of those lines. And it's at the low cost of 1. So in some cases, it's just a Maleficent on 1, right?
Mhm.
It's a Sork on 1. And I think another big topic around this deck was, which I kind of find funny because there was definitely a fair amount of Sorcerer in Chicago, but maybe it wasn't as spotlighted as it was, through your stream matches this past weekend. What do you think Sorceress really had for this deck that it kind of like needed to just be there as a 4 of?
Yeah, I think so. I've always really liked Maleficent Sorceress, and it was really good into the deck because you needed a 3 drop that like could do something that replaced itself. So it was good into green steel, and it's just the best turn 3 you can have. It's a like decent body. It's a 2/2 that sings friends. But the main thing for me, I talked to George about this, was on 5, you can go play a snake, bounce your Maleficent, replay Maleficent, and you
Mhm.
couldn't do that with Rabbit because you'd play Rabbit on 4, have to do
Right.
it on 6. But
Right.
now your turn 6 is like play a kill spell or play a castle, and move both your guys to castle,
Yeah.
and it just gives you those like you can like try and close the game out.
Yeah, yeah. The addition of Be King Undisputed is a card that all of a sudden now Rabbit and Goat got even scarier. The ability to sing that card and have a Lady Tremaine like out of your Rabbit or Goat that sets up these insane castle turns. I think that was a real turning point for Ruby Amethyst in this current metagame. I think very early on, people were not respecting Big King Undisputed. Do you have anything to like just
Yeah,
just be like
I
how
mean,
good that card is?
I can tell you I wasn't respecting that card. My
Yeah, okay.
one friend was like, "Yo, this card is broken. It's insane. Like this card is going to change the format." And all of our team was just like, "This card is trash." It's just
Wow.
it's
Okay.
Tremaine that doesn't have the body. And like later on I realized like you just don't need the body in red purple.
Yeah.
And like playing a turn 4 kill spell is it has been so important.
Yeah, for me, the turning moment was like this line of play my rabbit, or if I had to, play my goat on 4. And then on 5, you're just like turn my guy sideways. You have the ability to Maui as well. And then like the ultimate be ahead play was against Sapphire decks. It only had one character in play. And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna sing Be King in the street to play my castle, add my guy to the castle on 5,
Mm.
go. And like Sapphire decks are just like they're just dead in the water. They're what do I do now? So I think that it really shored up that Sapphire matchup when you understand all the fundamentals from that card as a whole. I think aside from that, we're there was a lot of conversation around the end of the Into the Inklands metagame about the number of be prepareds in Ruby Amethyst. I'm a firm believer that we're on 4 or like forever right now.
Mhm.
Do you agree to that?
Yeah, so I've always been on 4B prep. I think I went down to 3 because Dick and George were like on 3. I wanted to be on like 3.5.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Does Be King Undisputed kind of give you that?
Yeah.
It's just like that one more little thing for like a low, even later in the game, like having the idea of like, oh, later in the game I can just be like on 8, I can play Be King Undisputed, get rid of a card, and play Castle,
Mhm.
and really start establishing another way to do this after my Be Prepareds. So I think that it almost is kind of like that. It's specifically in a world where we got away from playing Maleficent Dragons, right? Like that card costs way too much.
Yeah.
Be King Undisputed is just like, yeah, I just like, yeah, I don't know.
I do
Card's
the
really
same
good.
thing for less.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your matchups that we played against in the top 8. So you played against Sapphire Steel in top 8, and then Sapphire Ruby in the finals.
Mhm.
What is our plans going into this matchup? Granted, you had seeding; you were first place overall going into the top cut. So what was your strategy going into these matchups?
So for the blue steel player, I did not look through his deck list last night and just watched Hercules, and that didn't help at all. 'Cause my friends were like, "Yo, let's play test for this matchup." I was like, "No, I want to watch Hercules."
Okay,
Um,
fair enough. Fair
so
enough.
I lost game one. Game one was a abysmal. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Game two, I like understood the deck more and understand what was happening, and I think that was the game I played like 4 castles.
Yeah, I think I specifically remember screenshotting the 4 castles and being like, "You guys, like, you can't miss any more of this. Like, this is insane." It's pretty good. Must be a good feeling to have 4 castles.
It does. It's my favorite card, so I was pretty happy with it.
Whew, let's talk about that for 1 second. How good is Queen's Castle compared to every other printed location?
I don't think it's remotely close. Like the card feels unfair. Like it's maybe close to bannable.
Mhm.
Um like it just gives blue decks like we can't close the game out against blue decks. Like it's our lucky dime. Like that's how we
Yeah,
win games.
yeah.
It it just like it draws, it's a threat. You have to put it's like a fog too. You have to deal with it or you're not gonna quest. It does everything. The card's absurd. And
Yeah.
it's inkable too. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was gonna add that. Like, yeah, it's by the way, it's inkable, and it only costs 4. Yeah, Kurt's really good. Okay, back to our matchup here. Was there anything else that you took away? Like this list in particular, I think one of the good question come up here is it is not a whole new world deck. Do you think that that favors you, or are you like, does it not matter?
I think it can depend on the list. I think generally a whole new world's probably worse for me because they can they can kind of recycle stuff and like really dig deep for their lucky dimes. But like if my opponent sees a workshop in the Noah whole new world, like that can get them ahead. Like game one against him, he played Maurice's workshop into item, draw 3 cards,
Yeah.
and that just put him so far ahead. But I think the Noah whole new world's probably more favorable. Like it's close. It's probably like a 60-40, 55-45 type of thing.
So I think it doesn't help because you didn't look at the deck list. But going into a Sapphire Steel matchup right now in the current metagame, are you expecting them to be a whole new world?
Yes, every single time.
Okay, so would it change your play style at all, knowing if they were not?
Yes, because the game the game that I didn't see a whole new world, I just dumped my hand. I dumped my hand. I played a bunch of rabbits. I got to like draw infinite cards, and I was like, I'm gonna draw a bunch of cards because you don't have a whole new world in your deck. And I
Yeah,
just got to be the plan of like I have a million cards in hand.
yeah,
I'm gonna play a B prep and slam double castle on the table, and you lose.
just lose. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So what about Ruby Sapphire? What is that matchup like for you?
That matchup has been impossible for me to lose. Like, I played my teammate for a bed and beat him 5-0 because he was like, "I'm taking the bed," and I was like, "No, you're not."
You hold on. I love this. So Team Ohana is staying in an Airbnb, and you're like, yeah, no, we're playing for beds. That's top notch. Oh man, that's good. Okay, I tend to agree with you. However, you did drop a game
I did. I
in
did,
the
yeah.
finals to specifically. I think Greatstone Dragon was the reason you ended up losing that game. But aside from like this crazy grindy game that you ended up playing here, what is like your general mulligan condition for that matchup?
So you normally just wanna see your Chernobyls, like, you wanna keep those. I like to keep Flynn every single time. You don't need Sisu because you need Sisu if you have Flynn, but I don't wanna keep the card alone because it's a bad card.
Sure.
Um, I will generally just keep the castle in hand on the play so I can have like a really explosive turn, like 4 or 5 of just play castle.
Hmm.
Um, I keep rabbits. I'll keep goats depending on how many I have. Like if I have a really aggressive hand, I'll just like try and win the game fast. But I learned after that loss I kept a 7 and it didn't have rabbit and I lost the game because of it. And
Okay.
I think rabbit is like the most important card in the matchup. You want to see Maleficence. You just want to see your little questers that you can just chip damage in. You really just need to get to turn like 6 and then the game should be like pretty sealed up after that because that's when you get to play your kill spells. Um,
And they're really not like the Ruby Sapphire deck is never threatening on average more than one character a turn.
mhm,
So this deck really preys on that, having the Medusa, having Lady Tremaines, having the Baku, and then like if it gets too out of hand, you still have 4 Be Prepared as well. And I think that your deck ironically recovers better from Be Prepared than their deck does.
mhm,
I think that just like the Ruby Amethyst deck is the one deck in the format that the Ruby Sapphire just can't gain leverage on. And it can't. It's like also the one bursty deck that it can't recover from either because a lot of the other aggressive bursty decks are doing it all through characters. So like their one Be Prepared or their one Sisu kind of ends the game. Since the Ruby Amethyst is like it's more bursty because of Flynn Rider. Like just I mean, God, that card can gain you 12 lore before you even have an answer to it, which is crazy. And then even when the Ruby Sapphire deck has an answer to it, they're going so far off their normal game plan that you're like, you're winning anyway. You're like, yeah, whatever, man. You didn't how far I go, or you didn't one jump or things like that, which
mhm,
means you're even further behind in the game, or you're spending your turn 4 or turn 5 doing that instead of your turn 2, and everything's out of sync. So I think it's a really difficult matchup. I think it's safe to say that that's Ruby Amethyst's best matchup in the current metagame, right?
yeah.
What do you think the worst matchup is?
Green steel, like by far, it's not close. I don't think.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's
Yeah.
talk about your friend Kendall.
Hmm.
So you had to play Kendall in Swiss, which locked up your undefeated. I believe that was your round six, which
Yeah, that
meant
was
you
my
could
round
draw into
6.
top 8, and then you had to play him again in top 4.
Mhm.
Talk to me about the mirror match and specifically playing against Kendall.
So playing against Kendall, it game one I kept a like Flynn hand, the Flynn Sisu combo, and I think I went Chernobog on one, Flynn on two, turn three play Sisu, and I think I gained like 6 lore off of it or 9 lore off of it because it's just like really hard to keep rolling the matchup in your opening hand, like the card's bad, you kind of just have to Sisu counter. But
Yeah,
on the draw, you can't do that because you're gonna have more cards in hand, and that's a problem. So on the draw, I generally won't keep that combo. It depends on the structure of my hand, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to mirror my opponent and then
right.
lose. Um,
Yeah, you're just always gonna have more cards in your hand than them, like
mhm,
on average, right? I will say this: the matchup I think it was kind of rough. I think everyone on the play won.
yeah,
In the actually, did you 2-0 him in the top four?
I
Actually, I
did
think
two
you did.
in Top Code. Yeah,
Okay, so you did win on the draw one of the games in round 6. You guys the player on the play won all 3 games.
Mhm.
Um, I will say this, now that we're kind of getting into this and we're seeing the success of Ruby Amethyst kind of really come out a little bit more over the last month or so now, do you think that there is any changes that you need to kind of adapt to the mirror and respect it now? Or were going into the tournament, did you even plan for the mirror in any way?
Um, so I think that my build is like me and George's build is generally teched for the mirror match.
Yeah.
Like you have
Is it
more.
like is it done ironically though? Like
I don't
I
think so.
felt
Like I
I felt going in, it wasn't like planned to be that way.
yeah
It just
we
kind of folded into it.
yeah we aren't like this is what we're doing. I think it just kind of happened. But
Yeah.
like generally, I think we're better into the mirror match. Obviously, playing more kill spells. I don't like one drops in the mirror match. Like sometimes I just won't play a one drop.
Yeah.
Because like just play a turn 3 and then their one drop is irrelevant,
Right.
or play a turn 2 thing, their one drop's irrelevant still.
It's also about understanding that Snake is way better as like a quote 5 cost,
Yeah,
right? Like we're gonna use Snake on 5, we're gonna use Snake on 6, 7, and 8. We don't need Snake on 2. It might even be a waste of a Snake
yeah,
on 2 in most cases.
um, yeah. Unless you need like the ink. I was a couple like tech cards that I'm thinking about playing, like maybe Pascal. I'm really happy with the list. Like
Yeah.
coming into that to the tournament, I felt I had the best deck in the room, as George said. Like the
Yeah.
deck felt amazing. No one was on my list.
Yeah.
I just felt unbeatable. Like
You were.
yeah.
It turned out that way.
So I think like Pascals can maybe be an inclusion. If I was playing Pascals, I'd be on 8 one drops because I want to
Mhm.
be more aggressive with my build.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's something I want to do. Because it's only good in the mirror match and it's bad against. It's like fine into red, blue, red.
You're already good,
Yeah,
So it's like one of those where you're already so good in that matchup that I don't think that that's the reason to play it. I think it's definitely worse into Emerald Steel, right? Like
yeah.
that card's not doing you anything in Emerald Steel matchup unless you're randomly picking off a Pegasus, I guess. I don't know. Like, woo. Speaking of Emerald Steel, it was a pretty hot topic this past weekend that you played 9 rounds, right? Or no? Technically, yeah, technically you played 9 rounds. And you didn't play
Mhm,
Emerald Steel once. You were able to quote dodge the matchup. All 3 of the Emerald Steel list lost in top 8.
mhm.
I believe one of them lost to Kendall.
Yeah,
So,
2-0 too.
Kendall, yeah, Kendall took out one. I think George was able to get rid of one in the second day of the event. So, like, it's not like this unprecedented thing that Ruby Amethyst is incapable of winning this matchup. You did say it was your worst matchup,
Mhm.
but you have to have a strategy, right? Like you're not going into this tournament going, I don't have a way to beat the
Yeah.
quote boogeyman of the format. So talk to me through your strategy in that matchup.
So my strategy for the matchup, I learned this from Artifacts, is
Mhm,
just to you keep anything that draws a card
mhm.
and then brawl. And you ink everything. You keep friends in your hand because on turn 2, if they're going play Ursula and not play Bucky, that's a win for you. Even if they're taking your friends.
George Thumb. Yeah, it's actually one of those surreal moments that I don't think people do. I'll be honest. I think the average player playing Ruby Amethyst is going to ink their friends in their Emerald matchups all the time.
Mm,
And it's one of those where you're like, you know what? You just have to accept that if they play their worst line and get your card, that you're actually ahead in the situation, which is like crazy to say.
mm.
But the moment they miss Bucky, you're like, holy shit, this game's like winnable, like
Winnable, yeah.
very winnable. Like holy crap, is it winnable? It's even more winnable if they miss. Like if you don't have the French, you're like
Yeah.
Yahtzee. But I do agree with you. I think this comes up with the 1 cost thing again, right? Like, Flynn Rider's terrible in the matchup, right? He's ink. I'm pretty confident you didn't play against it. I'm pretty confident in day 2 watching George. George went on turn 2, ink Flynn pass.
Mhm.
Everyone's like, why didn't they play the 2 drop? It's like, well, it's useless. Like, why would I play this? Like, it's useless. How do you feel though? In general, playing against Emerald Steel.
Um, it's I feel like it's a 60-40 matchup on their side. Like it's obviously winnable. Like seeding is really important. Like playing it in Top Cut versus just die rolling for my matchups is like that's important. It depends on my opponent's build. I really don't like the Flynn. I don't know why people are playing that card. It just dies to brawl. I know people are playing Cove, but like the card is like I don't want a card that's dead in my hand, uninkable, and sometimes it's quest for forward, but dies to every single card in the game.
It's a really interesting conversation. I think leading into Chicago, I agree. I'm not a fan of that. I actually really loved him in the Inklands metagame. I thought he
Mhm.
was like way
Yeah.
more interesting. I think he was way better. And then leading up to Chicago, I took him out of my Emerald Steel list. I didn't like him because of the reason you said. Like when you're ahead, you're ahead. Like it's so hard for your opponent to draw out of like this trap. So you just win the game through inevitability, and you can do that with cards that always do what you want them to do.
Mhm.
Where he presents this position where in certain matchups you draw this 4-cost uninkable 2/3 that might have 0 lore. Like what am I doing with this
Mhm.
card? But I will say that he's very clearly been successful. So it's sometimes it's really hard to win an argument when the results don't match your opinion, right?
Yeah.
But I do agree that I am not the kind of player that likes to play uninkables that are like beyond situational.
Mhm.
If you look at the Ruby Amethyst decks playing 16 uninkables, I believe every single one of those cards has a purpose, and at worst, they're a blank XX with one lore. At like the very worst, Medusa's a 4/4 with one lore. Like,
Yeah.
like it. Obviously, we want to come in and we want to get rid of stuff. We want to banish cards, but when in doubt, you just play Medusa on the table. You're like, all right, whatever. I have a 4/4 that I attached to my castle. I'm just going to draw me cards. Like it's another threat, yada yada. Playing a 4-cost 2/3 evasive blank character, I mean that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. So I don't know, hard to say. Um, Anything else on Emerald Steel you want to touch on?
Um, Not much. I do want to like talk about Flynn like a little bit more. I
Go ahead,
think
go
the
for it.
card is a little like win more because if your opponent has no cards in hand, you should just like already be winning the game.
Yeah,
But I think that people play it to close out the games because they don't want to give you top deck potential. Because
yeah,
like, um, I think like a two of the card is like that's reasonable.
mhm,
And it can like sometimes come up like the deck is really bad at just like winning the game. The deck
yeah,
like is really good at making you not win the game, but
yeah.
like
It's like one of those unwritten rules in like gaming where the game is over,
mhm,
right? In quotation marks. But because of I think like the community of Lorcana, everyone just doesn't like
scoop,
understand that, and no
yeah,
one concedes ever. Whereas like in testing, very often it's like, okay, you had the
you
double
have the
bucky line, like the game is over. I don't need to play 5 turns of you luring me 4 or 5. Like it's a
yeah,
waste of my time. It's a waste of your time. We should move on with life. I don't think enough people are doing that, and because of that, like they're creating these worlds that somehow on turn 4 I'm gonna draw a Hiram into a popsicle and then like come back. Like it's just a crazy scenario that
yeah,
never exist, and that's probably why they're committed to the card. But in my opinion, like that card could be like I don't know, like Tinkerbell, a 2/3 evasive that always has 2 lore,
mm,
and it probably does the same thing on average, and it might even give you a situation where you get to remove
a
like
Diablo,
a Diablo or something,
yeah,
right? Like it might actually do something, and it's inkable. So
mhm.
like I don't know. I digress. Um, but yeah, Emerald Steel, boogeyman of the format. You were able to dodge it on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited were you that you didn't have to play against that deck on the weekend?
I was pretty excited. I think I'd say like it's probably like a 9. I think I'd rather play a green steel player than play a mirror match with the best red purple player ever, which is Kendall.
Okay, okay, fair enough. All
Except for
right,
in Top Cut when I was on the play. That's different.
like I'll take that every
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Very, very fair. All right, so on the channel we like to play a little game called Repeat After Me. I'm going to say a statement, and then you will repeat the statement and include the answer to it. Cool.
Cool.
All right. So the best part about winning the CCS 10K is.
The best part about winning the CCS 10K was like the money and like the fame of like I really wanted to grow our team and like put ourselves out there. And I think winning this tournament did that. Getting these cool interviews was really like awesome. Being able to provide money for my dad and like being able to buy stuff.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about family there. You told me before we started that you've been playing card games since you were 5 years old. That's insane. You know, like you already have in some ways 10 years experience
Yeah.
at the age of 15. I sit here at the age of 35, and I have about 25 years experience. So that means you started 5 years before I did, which is insane. I was too busy like wasting my time playing sports. Come on, who does that? Honestly, no, but seriously, when you grow up in that, that kind of a world, what kind of goals are you set for yourself, like as a card game player?
Um, so my main thing, and my dad wanted this for me, is he just wanted me to be happy with what I'm doing. So like he
Yeah.
didn't want me to have a job that I was getting paid well that I wasn't having any fun with. And I really want my job to be this, and like my career is card games. Like I want to make a living off of this. I want to like I want to start doing like coaching and stuff, making trying to make money off that. Probably start streaming with the new like clients if they make one, and like webcam stream because I know those are popping up.
Mhm.
Um, I really would like card games to just be my career path.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, especially like at the age of 15, starting out, winning 164 person tournament. That's damn impressive. I think for me, I actually said, and I don't want to take anything away from you, but I said that when I won my first big tournament, I felt that I only wanted it because of a general maturity. Because like I was finally like past the world of playing video games in my free time. I was spending all my free time like testing the format,
Yeah,
learning the game, learning the chess matchup, as it is. And we've spoken a bunch. Where we've been cordial, but I don't know that like what you're doing in your free time isn't just always playing Disney Lorcana. Like you could be, you're still a kid, you're still in school, which is crazy. Like now, granted, right now we're in summer, thank God, right? You
yeah,
get a little more
it's
time to prepare and things like that. But what is that regiment right now for you, kind of in Lorcana? Like how much time in a week are you playing Disney Lorcana?
So normally, so Mondays I will go to locals. Tuesdays I'm free. Wednesdays I will be at locals again. Thursdays I'm free. Fridays I'll be at locals. Saturday, Sunday I'll be at tournaments.
So you're just one step behind Rob Serpay that plays 6 days a week. uh what are some of these locals? You want to shout out any of the stores near you?
Yeah, so Dragon's Horde is my main locals on Wednesdays. We kind of just play league play. It's a really great store. They have like video games and stuff at it.
Nice.
House of Cards on Mondays in Wilmington. Really great place. They're doing a charity event. I believe I believe it's like when Texas happens, unfortunately. But charity tournament, if anyone did not get tickets, that's a great place to go. Um, and then Wednesdays, Thursday, Friday is Picante.
Ooh,
Also a good place. I've really liked that store. Just play testing. That's where
awesome.
I go.
That's awesome. All right. So next one. The one deck in Lorcana that scares me the most is
The one deck in Lorcana that scares me the most. Green Steel, probably.
is there a specific card in that deck that scares you the most?
Hmm. Probably Beast because I never have the answer for it.
That's insane. Your deck has a million answers to it. You're
Yeah,
just
but I
drawing.
never find it.
You're drawing bad. You're drawing bad. One of the more controversial topics that I think you are on the more interesting side of is I like the two game format more than best of three because
I like the best of two format more because um I don't like best of three because it gives you that die roll of like I'm gonna win this matchup because I was on the play. And like I think that's Like, that's frustrating for people. I like that an unwinnable matchup like green steel, I can turn that into like something. Like, I can turn trash into like something of like I got 3 points instead of like getting two two owed and getting nothing in the best of three format. Which I can get 2 0'd in 2 game format, and it feels pretty rough.
Yeah,
You feel like miles behind when you get 2 0'd,
yeah.
but like that just means you need to like sometimes you can have that like I drew bad and like this happened, but like most of the time it's just because like you made a misplay or you mulligan poorly. Like
Yeah.
those things happen.
Yeah, I honestly, even in the structure of it from, I think it was DLC Atlanta, Zach Bivens took an O2, but he still finished like third place
Hmm.
overall. I think it was 6-1-2 or something like that. That was good enough for third place. So even being O2 doesn't mean that you're out of a contention for a day two. As long as you're continuing to play out and win, the points do matter. It's not whose line is it anyway. So I think it's interesting. For me, it's really about you're never out of the tournament. In the best of three, very early on, you take losses early on, and you just
You're just
know,
out.
like, man,
Yeah.
I know my breakers are gonna be the reason that I finished ninth or 10th place. Like, you just know it. Where like this bonus point system right now is creating incentive at like, hey, like if I take an 0-2 in round one, if I win 6 rounds 2-0 out of the next eight, I'm in day two. I'm
Yeah.
actually in day two in great position. So I think that's really interesting. I think it really plays dividends to like everyone kind of in the same bracket. This world of like in rounds 6, 7, 8, or 9, if I can pick up 3 2-0s in that time frame, I put myself in position to also be in day two, or at the very least when I let it go. I think it's doing a lot of good for the game, and I do think that the first thing you said was about the die roll. And if players aren't complaining about best of two and we're playing best of three, then the new biggest complaint, or I should say the original complaint just comes back of, oh, I lost the die roll, therefore I lost the match. I think no matter what, we'd find a way to complain, right?
Yeah.
My next goal for Lorcana is
My next goal for Lorcana is um I want to start like streaming and stuff and like doing like I kind of want to like take a step forward and like kind of make money off of it. Besides outside of tournaments, so I want to do like streaming. I think I want to do coaching for like the one thing from a big business perspective is like younger kids are able to approach me as a young kid because they're like, oh, he's the same age as me. Like, I can do the things he can. And I really like that. Like, I can help younger players grow.
Mhm.
And I think I'm like more approachable in a way than like some dude in his 30s. Like,
Sure, sure.
yeah.
I think that's a great honestly switch topic here, because your age is important. I think Lorcana is really proving that anything is possible within this community. I think that our community, personally, for females, is remarkable. We're seeing a ton of female support within the Lorcana game. And before we started, I actually went and looked at my own analytics on YouTube. And my own analytics on YouTube shows me that between 13 and 17, there is a 0% of kids in that age watching my content, which means you don't watch my content. I'm just kidding. Um, Either the analytics doesn't even allow for YouTube for kids to watch my content for whatever reason, but the next closest thing is the 18 to 24 bracket, which is only 5% of my viewers that are watching the game. So you are an anomaly in Disney Lorcana. I've talked to game store owners, I've talked to like other players in the area, and obviously, like I said, I'm age 35, I'm 20 years older than you. And even from my point of view in my community, kids aren't playing in tournaments. They're playing in league, right? Like they're showing up with their parents and they're playing in leagues and they're really, enjoying themselves with the game of Lorcana. But I don't see, on average, I don't see kids coming out to playing in 1Ks, going to SCGs, things like that. You're truly unique. I think it's important truly important for people to see this and see this story of, hey, like this 15-year-old kid won $3,000. Like he played with a bunch of adults in a very competitive tournament and was able to compete. And on top of that, the community welcomed you, right? And I think that that's important too. I think that there's a lot of communities out there that are very scary, for a kid your age to really be a part of. So for you to champion that, I think that's huge. I think that's important. I think that that's great for really the motives of Disney Lorcana as a whole, of being this community that like really wants to be acceptable by everyone. So I really, I hope that you're successful in this journey. For me to you, you let me know. I will push it. I will let it know into the world that, hey, this kid's doing this. This is when he's starting this. I think that's incredible. But I do have a question for you, because I
Mhm.
just said a whole bunch of data about from my point of view. From your point of view, do you have peers in the game that are around your age?
No, not at all. I I've only seen one other kid. I saw one kid at CCS that looked like he was like 13. I think they had him on the like streamer tape or whatever it was in round one, but I didn't personally know him.
Hmm.
There's no kids. There's like one kid around me. Really, t- I don't talk to them much, but they're around my area.
Okay. What about even on your own team? You have a pretty large team. What's
Mm.
the next closest age to your team?
You said what?
Like, what's the next closest age from you on your own team?
I think my friend Luck is 25.
All right, so it's a
Oh,
10-year age
yeah.
gap. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy. What's the most difficult thing for you as at the age of 15 playing Disney Lorcana?
The most difficult thing for me playing Disney Lorcana is traveling because I don't have a driver's license. I want I have a really competitive drive. Like after the 10K, I was like, I want to go play this 2K. But I was
Yeah,
like, everyone else was like, we want to go home. And that's
yeah.
totally reasonable. But like for me, I just want to play back to back to back to back to tournaments. I just want to keep grinding, keep
Have
making
you
money,
ever
keep
have you ever had
climbing.
a conversation with David Nunes?
Yes, yes. We went to dinner with him.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Yeah.
I just you're the way you just said that was like, man, I just want to play Lorcana. Let me play Lorcana. Very, very fair. So yeah, what is the driving law in North Carolina? When can we get our driver's license?
16 is when I can do
Is it like, are we already studying? Like, is this like a mission
next year will
statement?
be next year will be I'll be in like driver's ed for school, but
Okay.
I can get my learner's license, I believe.
All right. I mean, as a traveling professional card game player, you need it. You just can't rely on everyone all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So the second game, I really want to do a couple of these quick. Would you rather? I'm going to present two things to you. We're going to discuss which one you would choose over the other. All right.
Mhm.
Quick fun game. Choose one: Goofy Super Goof or Milan Elite Archer, and why?
I would play Mulan because I'm a hater of Super Goof. It is my least favorite card from that set, and
Wow!
I talk about it every single day about how bad it is. I hate it.
Wow! All right. How bad it is? All right. How bad is it? Let me give it. I'm giving you the opportunity. How bad is Super Goof?
I just like the card doesn't fit in any deck. It like there's no room for it. I think it's a super cool card, but I Mulan is Mulan. Like that card's really cool. I really like the mechanics of the card. I think it does a really cool thing when it enters. Super Goof is so boring. It has rush and gains too. It's super goat. It's terrible.
Have you played any games of draft or limited?
I have the card's broken in draft, but Mulan's better, I think.
Ironically, I brought this up because I got absolutely crushed by a Shift Milan in a draft that I did in Chicago, and I still feel bad about it.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Second star to the right or the mob song?
If we're choosing better cards, I'd say
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mob song.
Okay, okay.
But
Amethyst just doesn't need second star to the right, right?
yeah, but the cards draw five. Who doesn't love drawing cards?
That's fair. So the mob song. Do you think that either of these cards are respectable in the metagame?
I do not know.
Okay, fair
In
enough. So
draft,
definitely,
yes.
yeah. And it's really funny, like where I think that the more that I've seen this, in all honesty, I think the sing together mechanic might have actually been a limited mechanic.
Yeah.
Uh, for
Um.
me, I feel like board states really kind of stalemate a
mm,
bunch, and then all of a sudden, this sing together mechanic just like blows out opponents. That's
mhm.
from my point. What about you?
So for me, I have a lot of like drafting knowledge because I played a lot of Magic,
Hmm.
and for me, I was like, no one's taking Ursula, the
Okay.
2-drop like Sing 4. So
Yeah.
you just go you take all the Ursulas, and then you take a 3-drop, and you can play Look at This Family on 7, and that
Yeah.
was just a like
Oh,
draw
well,
2
you can play it
cards
on
on.
3. Oh, on 4.
Yeah, on 4, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just like that was really nice, and then it can lead you into your 4-drops. But like late in the game when you're like we're both in a stalemate, and I go, I'm gonna draw 5, pass. That game
I've
is
done it. I've
instant.
drawn 5
Yes,
cards in limited. I've done it. It's insane.
I had a deck where I was playing 3 Ursula, and I had double Mob Song, Look at This Star, Under the Deep Sea in my deck, and and an 8-drop Sisu. My deck
All
was
right. You
absurd.
just had it all.
Yeah.
Very, very fair. All right, so this next one is a little more difficult, okay?
Mm.
What I need to know is which of these players you would rather play against in a finals.
Oh. Oh, no.
Would you rather play against George or Kendall in a finals of a tournament?
Hmm. Man, this is tough. I need a second for this one. I think it would be I think it would be Kendall.
Okay. Why?
Kendall I have played more against, and I know more about his play styles and his like what he does when he's like feeling some type of way, his like emotions.
Sure.
George shows a little less of that. I feel like George is just like stone faced, like it's impossible to
The
see
the
through him.
best poker player in the room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also George is taking me to dinner, and I can't beat him, and I can't let him beat me. We gotta stay even, or whatever we're on. I think we have played once or
Yeah.
twice. I beat him with spell books because I was on 3 spell
Yes.
books.
I remember that. That was in the SCG Atlanta,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And then I know you guys drew into the top 8 together in Richmond.
Mhm.
So,
I can't let him get ahead of me. We can't stay even. I'm ahead right now.
fair enough. Fair enough. So, talk to me about Team Ohana, about you winning the CCS here and what it's going to do for you and your team.
So Ohana is like this local team that we built. This is our group of people. um, it's we're like a family. We've been
Ohana means
playing
family.
for a while. The guy in the back doing that creepy face is my friend Corey. I met
Okay.
him through Digimon.
Okay.
Russell used to be on y'all's. I know
Yeah. Shout
y'all.
out to Russ. We go way back to WoW TCG together. We're former teammates, so he's a great guy.
Mhm. This was just an idea we had, and we're trying to like grow it bigger. We're from North Carolina.
Why now?
Um, I think it's a like with this win, it really helps the team grow,
Mhm.
and like we wanted to start something because and we just recently met like 3 of the team members, and
Okay.
those were great inclusions.
Yeah.
My friend Bruce.
So, so are you guys not all based in the same area?
No, we are. We're all based in the same area, but we
Okay.
just recently like added the people.
Oh, okay.
We're all like an hour or like 20, an hour or less away from each other.
So how beneficial do you think that is, like going into like Disney Lorcana challenges and things like that? That like you're tight knit to your group and you can guys just can like pick a store to go to.
I think that's really important. For me, I was really bad on Pixelborn. Like I was bad playing in a comfortable space, but in person I played a lot better.
Yeah.
Webcam was different because I was good on webcam because of Digimon, and I
Yeah.
like it was different holding the cards. Like I could like feel playing the game.
Yeah.
I think
It's
that
also
it.
about, I don't want to include, but like it's also about like just like the natural repetition of it, right?
Mhm,
When you, I think I forget who told, someone that I respect very highly of said to me once, if you're gonna play an online tournament, you should only play online. Like you should just understand the client, understand the clicks, understand all the things. If you're gonna play a paper tournament, you should only be playing paper,
mhm,
because there are things that the online client does for you that you don't. You don't get a pop up to remind you to draw a card from Diablo, right? Like you don't get a pop up that a trigger hits. You have to have that inbred it into yourself through the
mhm,
games. And I think that anytime I have the opportunity to play with the cards in my hand, it just betters me for all those tournaments I'm going to play in the future.
mhm.
I interrupted you. I'm the worst.
Uh, I forgot what I was gonna say. We are on the topic of
Just the getting together with the team.
yeah, the playing together was nice. Like we can all sit down as a group and like theory craft and stuff. And just be like, I like pairs of two where we play 2v2s where
Mhm.
I'm playing with the red purple player and my friend is playing with his opponent. We can help each other out, like talk about lines, like we're known information to everyone. Like
Yeah,
you know my hand, I know your hand.
yeah. It's
This is
about
how this goes.
learning. It's about learning the matchup to the fullest and
Mm,
exploring, whatever needs to be explored. Right.
mm,
The conversation of like, I don't need to play a card until turn 4 doesn't really occur by yourself, right? It's just like, hey, we got to like get to this point where you're like, yeah, I just don't do anything, and that's okay.
mm.
Things like that. How often do you find yourself like where you just have a deck on the table and you're just arguing about like a single card for a half hour?
Oh my god, forever. I'm just like, why are we playing this card? It's so bad.
Yeah.
I've done that like
What's
a
what's the last card that you argued over?
I argued a lot over like 3 and 4 B prep. I argued for like an hour about it.
Sure.
Um playing whether to play B King Undisputed.
Mhm.
I didn't think it was good, and then I played a bunch of games. I had a lot of lines where I was like play a Medusa, kill your Robin Hood, sing BK, kill your kill your Big Cindy, and I was like this card is absurd. Like
Yeah, that's
that's the
good.
point when I realized I was like, wow, this card is just not fair.
Fair enough. What is Team Ohana's plan for content?
So right now we're on YouTube, Instagram, just like all the social media platforms. We're doing like fun, trendy stuff. For YouTube, we did an interview with our friend Tommy, old Yu-Gi-Oh player, topped at the challenge recently. I have my deck on that page on Team Ohana. Kind of gave like a little guide to it. Not
Yeah,
it wasn't a super long video. I don't like super long videos because my attention span short. It was
fair
like a
enough.
5 minute video of just me explaining some cards.
I think that is the. You think you just answered why you don't watch my content.
I do watch your. I watch all your videos. This is crazy talk.
I can show the analytics, man. I'll pop it up at 0%. I swear. No, I just meant that the age bracket I think is very clear. Is that you, and even like the Ohana thought here is like, the TikTok reels, the Instagram reels, like that is very much, a content that's honestly appointed at your age group.
Mhm.
So it's fun to see that. But you guys also started a podcast. I'll be honest, I'm so sorry. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm like the busiest
I
person in the
haven't
world.
either.
But so were you not on that podcast?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, so is there going to be like a rotating cast of the podcast? Like, what's the
Yeah, I
plan for
think
that?
we'll be doing like something. I'll be on next week or something. We'll like figure it out, but I think I'll
Sure,
be in some content. I don't know yet.
fair enough, fair enough. So then your plan for being a streamer, is that going to be like a Luca Serano brand, or are we going to attach
Yeah,
ourselves to
so
Team
there's no
Ohana?
contract or anything for Ohana.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure. I
so
was just more like, you're like, okay, I'm a part of Team Ohana, but I'm going to go do my own thing.
yeah, so it'll be like my own thing, but again, I'm gonna shout them out, make sure they're
Yeah,
known. I just want to like really put that team out there and put our
yeah,
team out there.
yeah.
Kind of
Honestly,
like they've been trolling.
Russ's name comes up all the time.
Mhm,
He's any like I think Dragon Horde is another name. Like I knew it before you had said it. I've seen it linked. I think it's one of the pages I even follow on the Forbidden Mountain, because like they are one of like, I guess, like the premier stores in Lorcana that are constantly spitting out tournaments for the game.
mhm,
Personally, I think that they are the most important things to Lorcana's success, is those local game stores that were very committed early. CCS comes to mind. I'm like drawing blanks right now because I'm trying to figure that out on the spot. But I'll try to remember and edit this later. But there's a couple stores that very early on in Lorcana really attached themselves to Lorcana, and it's really great to see players like you, like, hey, I'm a local to that store, and like this store is awesome. The store is committed to the game. They're hosting, like, at the very least, monthly enchanted tournaments and things like that. I think
mhm.
that's all very important. Before we get out of here and we walk away, is there any last people you want to talk about? You want to shout out, attribute, this win towards,
Mhm.
anything like that?
So I want to shout out, obviously Ohana, Team Ohana. We're on all socials. I want to give a huge shout out. Thank you so much to George. I get to talk to him a lot about the deck. He gave me the deck. Also Kendall. I really appreciate Kendall's help talking with me. Um, you, obviously, for this interview. That was great. It was great meeting you. I'm really happy with the Lorcana community. Just really talking to all the competitive players was really cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. What about Dad?
Dad's in on it. He always wants me to be competitive. I think he's gonna start playing soon.
Wow. So Dad doesn't even play the game.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, tell
Um,
Dad to like, he needs to get up. He needs to play. Like, I mean, come on. What
he's
is going
better than
on?
me. He'd probably be good at it.
I so just because it was referenced a little bit earlier, you're saying he was like a professional Magic player?
Yeah, so he used to like be a professional Magic player. He mostly just played like Control. He played a lot of Jund. Like he is the Jund guy. I have the
Got
Jund
it.
in my veins. That's why I'm
Right.
playing Red
So that's
Purple.
why the Ruby Amethyst
Yeah.
is there. I will say this. Is there, I mean, like, what's it gonna take for you to put down Ruby Amethyst?
I don't know. I ban B prep and I get off the deck.
So if there, I think we can end on this. You know, if there was a ban list,
Mm,
okay, uh, and let's just say we wanted to take like one card from like the top four decks right now. We'll just say Emerald Steel, Ruby Amethyst, Ruby Sapphire, and Sapphire Steel. Let's just say that, just without really thinking about it, if we had to target cards that would affect the meta game, what is the card we're targeting from Ruby Amethyst?
Definitely Medusa. It's not even a thought for me.
So Medusa then hits Ruby Amethyst and Ruby Sapphire, right? We can take,
Mhm.
there we go. We hit both of them in one hit. Sapphire Steel.
Sapphire Steel. Like maybe a whole new world. It'd have to be a little bit more thought, but like
Mhm.
the card, it is not fun to play against. Like that is, I don't think anyone like enjoy. I love getting wheeled because then I get a new hand and I'm like, this game's over. But
Sure.
I don't think anything's like really broken in blue steel. Like maybe Lucky Dime, but I don't want to make Sapphire like red blue too weak.
Mhm.
So I'd probably do like a whole new world.
I think if like, quick answer for me would be Fishbone Quill. Emerald Steel.
Emerald Steel would just be Bucky.
Just get rid of Bucky, right? Bucky. I think Bucky could potentially just be a designer's worst nightmare, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it, it wasn't truly relevant in set three. It had a little bit of like scariness in set 2, but I think it was just because it was when it came out. Everyone
Yeah,
was like really playing it, but it really wasn't. It was never at any point in time a dominant deck in set 2. Like it just wasn't. The addition of Aladdin and Diablo have proven that 3 costs, like just 3 cost Floodborne characters, not shift 3, like, hey, on 3, I can just play this card,
yeah,
means that like the design space moving forward is just like, I mean, like, can you print another 3 cost Emerald or Sapphire or Emerald or Steel, like, you know, Floodborne character? Like, can you even do that? Like, can you make a character? I mean, you can't make a character better than Diablo. Can't do it. But could you make a character that's better than Aladdin at 3 costs for Steel that's a Floodborne?
pretty easily. Yeah,
Yeah, but you can't because
yeah,
Bucky exists, right? Like, so
yeah.
yeah,
It's just
tough.
it's. I think that's the same thing for Medusa. Like
Yep.
Medusa limits card design because like like fun players want to just play this like 5 mana 3/5 that like has this cool effect when it quests, and I'm just like on 6 Medusa and the game's over. Like
Fair enough.
it's really hard to have like cool cards like that that you want to see being played for casual players, where in competitive scenes you just don't get that at all. Which I'm a very competitive player, but having a good casual scene is important for your game to grow. And Medusa
Yep.
limits that, and so does Bucky.
In the most recent meta report that came out the morning of this interview, I said had a whole like section about Amber and like where the hell is it at. I think between Medusa and Brawl, I don't know that Amber has a character that's playable in the metagame.
Yeah, it's just felt like really hard for them to do anything. Like they aerial on 3 and then I just brawl. And the game like really
And,
feels like just so bad. And then on 4 I get to play my rabbit, then sing BK, and then 5 I play a Maui, and it just that's so
and
strong.
then and then you just Medusa. Like the fact that Medusa and Brawl like just legitimately removes. If we want to say Chernobog is a playable character, like that's like the only card that gets around any of these
Yeah. And then we
removals.
just Tremaine and BKO it
Yeah,
or beat
whatever. Like
that.
you don't care about that card
Yeah.
anyway because you're like, oh, it's the one card that got me. Like
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, it's fine. I'll just yeah. I just find it hilarious that Medusa really is handicapping like an entire ink or two, if I'm being honest. So yeah, I think Medusa is a good choice. But little fun exercise to end it. Luca, it has been honestly really exciting and enjoyable for me. You were a breath of fresh air in Richmond when I first met you. To see, I could honestly see your excitement on stream. You know, you were very antsy. You were moving around. You were
Yeah.
excited anytime a big play was coming that you knew you were turning the tide on the game. I think that is great to see in gamers. You know, at a young age, I think it's so you said it like in our game, like it doesn't exist. You are a one of one in the Lorcana space, and I really hope that your story kind of brings in more players just like you and builds more excitement. I will say though, there's a lot of conversation always around this junior league. I think you're already banned from
Oh
that,
my
kid.
god.
You're banned.
I
You
would I
can't
would
play.
hate it if they played junior leagues in this.
You're banned. You're not allowed.
I would hope so. I would not. That's one thing why I don't play Pokemon.
Very fair. Very, very fair. Thank you so much this morning. It has been great. And I look forward to seeing you Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, yes.
All right. So we will catch up again in Fort Worth. Thank you so very much for joining me this morning. If you haven't yet, all the socials will be down below for Team Ohana. Go check them out. And whenever Luca decides to start his own content channel, we will be sure to share it from the Fruin Mountain. See you guys in the next one.